Journey back to Reach felt shorter, maybe because nobody could stop thinking about the conversation. Or more specifically, the proposal. The transport crossed through several jump lanes before finally emerging above Reach space. The familiar sight greeted them immediately. The blue oceans, the sprawling cities, the endless green continents. Home. Pines leaned against the observation window. I never get tired of seeing this place. Lyra nodded. It doesn't look real from orbit? Kenny remained quiet. The twin suns reflected across the planet below. His planet, their planet. The transport descended through the atmosphere shortly afterwards. Clouds parted. The capital city appeared. Ships crossed overhead. The Academy towers stood proudly in the distance. Everything looked exactly as it should. Peaceful. The transport landed at the Academy. The moment the ramp lowered, a familiar face was already waiting. Darius. The older man stood with his arms folded. The second Kenny stepped onto the platform. He smiled. There you are. Pines pointed dramatically. We survived. Darius looked toward him. I wasn't worried. Pines looked offended. You should be. The uncle laughed. Lyra embraced him briefly before stepping aside. The group quickly made their way toward the Academy command building. Along the way, Darius filled them in on the latest developments. Thankfully, there wasn't much. No major attacks, no fleet incursions, no assassination attempts, mostly administrative problems. One city council dispute, a shipping disagreement between two governors, several dawn fruit poaching attempts, minor things, nothing serious. Pines looked disappointed. That's boring. Darius shrugged. Boring is good. Kenny nodded. Boring meant people weren't dying. The four eventually settled into the strategy chamber overlooking the city. Reports were reviewed. Supply updates, fleet updates, construction updates. Everything looked healthy. Reach continued growing. That alone was a victory. Eventually the paperwork ended. Silence settled over the room. A dangerous silence, the kind of silence Pines weaponized. Pines slowly looked toward Lyra. Lyra slowly looked toward Pines, then both looked toward Kenny at the same time. Kenny immediately knew what was coming. No. Pines pointed. Yes. No. Lyra folded her arms. We've waited long enough. Darius frowned. Waited for what, nephew? Pines spun dramatically toward him. The secret, the private conversation, the mystery. The older man blinked. What private conversation? Pines looked horrified. You don't know? Darius looked toward Kenny. Now interested. Very interested. The room suddenly became dangerous. 3 against 1. 4 if you count Rissel chirping in ignorant approval from the rafters in a makeshift nest. Kenny sighed. I hate all of you. Pines grinned. We know. Several minutes later, they knew everything. The room fell completely silent. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Darius blinked once, then twice. Pines stared. Lyra stared. The silence became almost painful. Then Pines slowly stood up. What? Kenny rubbed his forehead. That's roughly what I said. Pines pointed dramatically. The Queen proposed marriage? Yes. The Queen? Yes. The ruler of 6 planets? Yes. The incredibly famous Queen? Kenny sighed. Yes. Pines immediately sat back down. His brain had clearly stopped functioning. Lyra looked equally shocked, though less dramatically. She actually proposed. Kenny nodded. The room fell silent again. Darius, however, started laughing, slowly at first, then harder. Pines looked confused. What's funny? The uncle wiped his eyes. Nothing. Another laugh escaped him. I just wish I could have seen Kenny's face. Pines immediately nodded. That's fair. Kenny looked annoyed, which only made everyone laugh harder. Eventually the room settled, and then came the real discussion. Darius folded his arms. What are you thinking? Kenny leaned back. I'm thinking it changes everything. Nobody argued, because it did. A marriage between House Reach and House Arcturus would be historic, not just politically. Strategically, economically, militarily, the galaxy would lose its mind. Pines raised a hand. I vote yes. Nobody was surprised. Lyra looked toward him. That was fast. Pines shrugged. She seems nice. Another pause. Also 6 planets. Lyra rolled her eyes. Pines pointed dramatically. I'm just being practical. Darius laughed. At least he's honest. Pines nodded proudly. The older man looked toward Kenny, then became serious. I also lean yes. Kenny looked interested. Why? Darius thought for a moment, then answered honestly, because she seems genuine. Another pause. I watched her. Another. I listened. The uncle folded his arms. She wasn't talking like a politician. The room became thoughtful. That was true. Very true. Darius continued. She spoke like a woman who already made up her mind. Another pause. And if she wanted power, she would have approached this differently. Kenny nodded slowly. Valid points. Then everyone looked toward Lyra. She immediately noticed. Oh, another pause. Great. Pines pointed. Your turn. Lyra sighed, then leaned back. For several moments she thought carefully. Eventually she answered, I don't think she's lying. Silence. Kenny listened. Lyra continued. But, the room waited. I think she's idealizing you. That got everyone's attention. Lyra pointed toward Kenny. She met the legend first. Another pause. The person second. The room became thoughtful. That was a very different observation. Lyra continued. She watched Eclipse. Another. She watched the broadcasts. Another. She built an image. The room remained silent. Kenny slowly nodded. He understood exactly what she meant. The queen knew Kenny Reach, the public figure, the ruler, the survivor, the founder. But did she truly know Kenny? That question mattered. Lyra folded her arms. I think she genuinely likes you. Another pause. I also think she needs time to figure out whether she likes the real you. The room grew quiet, because that answer felt balanced, reasonable, thoughtful, exactly like Lyra. Pines nodded slowly. That's actually smart. Lyra looked surprised. Thank you. Pines pointed. Don't get used to it. Darius laughed. Eventually all eyes returned to Kenny. The room waited. The city lights glittered beyond the windows. Ships moved through the night sky. The future sat before him. Marriage, alliance, 6 planets, a potential partner, a political earthquake. And somehow, the decision felt surprisingly simple. Kenny finally looked toward the 3 people who had survived Eclipse with him, his closest friends, his family. Then he answered, I'll marry her. Silence. Pines immediately jumped from his chair. I knew it. Lyra laughed. Darius smiled. Kenny held up a hand. In due time, the room settled. He continued, I won't rush it. Another pause. I want to know her properly first. The others nodded. That sounded like him. Measured, careful, reasonable. The conversation shifted afterward. Future plans, potential consequences, how the galaxy might react. Hours passed. Eventually, the discussion turned back toward House Rain. Darius grew serious, very serious. The older man activated a holographic map. House Rain territory appeared. Storm worlds, military installations, fleet routes. The uncle folded his arms. We need eyes. The room immediately focused. Darius pointed toward the map. We know too little. Another pause. They're planning something. Another. We need to know what. Kenny nodded. Reasonable. The uncle continued. Reconnaissance. The word hung in the air. Not attacks. Another pause. Observation. The room considered it. Then Lyra raised a hand. I agree. Another pause. But she activated another image. Queen Selene appeared. Pines immediately smirked. Oh, this'll be good. Lyra ignored him. If we're doing reconnaissance. She looked toward Kenny. We should do it properly. Another pause. House Rain. Then she pointed toward the Queen's image. And House Arcturus. Silence. Kenny raised an eyebrow. Lyra folded her arms. Not because I think she's lying. Another pause. But because trust should be verified. The room became thoughtful. That was fair, very fair. Lyra continued. 2 weeks. Another pause. Watch everything. Another. Then decide. Kenny considered it. Eventually he nodded, approved. The room relaxed. Plans were forming. Information would start flowing. And for the first time, Reach would be watching both its greatest enemy and perhaps its greatest future ally. Outside the academy, the lights of Reach stretched across the horizon. Peaceful, safe, for now. And somewhere beyond those stars, 2 paths were beginning to form, one leading toward House Rain, the other leading toward Queen Selene. Soon enough, Kenny